Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Marion Minor Cook Athenaeum. My name is Adrian Flynn, and I'm one of your Athenaeum Fellows for this academic year. So animation, on its face, seems to be a most liberating form of art, an invitation to break outside the barriers of our immediate surroundings, envelop oneself in a new world, and just dream. Yet we must ask, is this invitation truly extended to all? Whose stories and dreams are magnified, supported, and indeed invited? The potential for democratizing opportunities to live a life with imagination and artistic expression at the focus is limitless, but some trailblazers are actively working to turn this potential into reality. We're honored to have with us tonight someone who has already accomplished so much in this endeavor and is just getting started. Taylor K. Shaw is a producer, writer, and the youngest CEO in the animation industry. She founded BWA Studios, the first and only animation studio designed to change the world of animation by consciously hiring Black women and animators of color. BWA creates original content for all ages and for companies such as Hulu, A&E, Warner Bros., Discovery, Mattel, HBO, Adult Swim, and more. With this amazing work, it's no wonder Ms. Shaw is a 2021 Forbes 30 Under 30 Hollywood and Entertainment List honoree and 2021 Shadow and Act Rising Executive Award winner, and has been featured in such publications as Deadline Hollywood, Emmy Magazine, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, and the LA Times. Tonight, Ms. Shaw will address the question of who is invited to dream through a story thread of her career in entertainment, her own life story, and community influences. She'll offer her firsthand experience with all the aspects of her field that operate at the root of inequity, and her vision for reshaping it through targeted campaigns to train, employ, and empower diverse talent. Ms. Shaw's talk tonight is co-sponsored by the Gould Center for Humanistic Studies and the Presidential Initiative on Anti-Racism and the Black Experience in America here at CMC. As a quick reminder before we begin, please silence and put away your cell phones. As always, video and audio recording is strictly prohibited, and we have an incredible speaker tonight, so please be present and get ready to engage in constructive dialogue. Welcome to the Athenaeum, and please join me in welcoming Taylor K. Shaw.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Good. All right. Well, let's jump right in. At the age of 12, I stood at a podium much like this one at Chicago's DuSable Museum. I stood before my parents, extended family, peers, and elementary school community to deliver a speech as the valedictorian of a Lane Locke Charter School's second graduating class. Over the weekend, my dad sent me a video of the speech. As it goes, dads tend to be the archivists of our lives. So to my dad, when he watches this back, thank you. You helped inspire today's speech. I can't help but get emotional at the sight of my younger self. When I look at her, I don't just see potential, I see, already at the age of 12, potential realized. There's little difference between her and me. She launched into her address with conviction, calling her classmates her brothers and sisters, her unit. The theme for the graduation ceremony was empowered to excel, which she defined as being equipped with the tools and winning spirit to overcome any obstacles that we may face. She went on to say that achieving absolute excellence, our school's motto, means reaching your highest potential, which begins with purpose. She thanked Lane Locke, the first African-American Rhodes Scholar, for his example, and her teachers for instilling the qualities of a strong work ethic, teamwork, and honesty in herself and her classmates. Qualities which she proclaimed prepared her class to become the change we wish to see in the world. Let me just say, I love this girl. I love her thick Chicago accent, a blend of city and southern drawl carried across the great migration of Black folks from the South to the North. I love that she confidently staked her claim as a future talk show host. TBD on that one. I love that growing up on the west and south sides of Chicago made her acutely aware of what it would take for her to achieve her dreams, but she stood tall and fearless anyway. In watching that speech for the first time in 16 years, I became emotional. Not because I was proud of myself, but because I was bearing witness to what is possible when a child's ambitions are never questioned. When a girl is not only told that she is smart, she is told that she is capable. How a human being can show up when they are allowed to fully be themselves. How it looks to never be told that you cannot achieve your wildest dreams. What it feels like to stand purposefully as a representative of the love and support received in the arms of community. Watching this speech, I was reminded of who is created when the invitation to dream is extended intentionally and the ability to dream, despite the challenges one may face, is cultivated. Listening closely, a core belief of mine was reinforced. Our reality is made up of the stories we are told about ourselves, the world, and who we might be in it all. When we are forced to live with limits at the center of our minds, we shrink instead of becoming big enough to change the world around us. I came from a loving home and community where I saw the children around me being encouraged. But very early on, I noticed we give more to the children that we believe will succeed. We put them in honors classes, advancing them towards success, setting them apart. If a child doesn't show signs of brilliance early enough, our encouragement only extends so far. People poured into me in ways they didn't pour into other children. They told me that I was special, that I would be the one, that somehow I would change things for a generation. I wore this weight well throughout high school, a track star who prepared for track meets by racing against the boys. They ran free while I ran with a weight vest, pressurized to succeed. I beat them all. Throughout college, I grappled with the weight of my privilege. It is a privilege for so many to be invested in your success, to be given a world-class education, to be deemed worthy of the best this world has to offer. I went to Northwestern University, an hour away from the west side of Chicago, where I left most of those early brothers and sisters behind. As the inequities of our world began to suffocate me, I felt at this time both guilt and anger. If I followed the individual path laid before me, I would only find success. But how do I represent those early community values instilled in me when there is no manual on how to lift as you climb? The isolation I felt as one of the few truly invited to dream in a meaningful way plagued me. My junior year of college, I did a journalism residency at ENCA, one of South Africa's premier television networks. Walking through the quiet tree-lined roads of the comfortable Johannesburg suburb of Craighall Park, I often pieced together new ideas on my proximity to privilege and opportunity in the working world. Each morning, I walked 25 minutes, taking the same route, journeying up and down several hills and winding roads in the warmth of the Joburg sun. I hoped this experience would ground me more deeply in my career as an international journalist. Yet, in these moments of solitude, I found myself becoming less concerned with my career path and fully engrossed in thoughts involving what I believe I am uniquely positioned to achieve. I began to peel back the layers of my identity and ambitions and ask myself, who am I? Why am I here? What do I believe in? How do I want to show up in the world and change it? Many times, asking myself these questions brought me to tears. These questions sparked a fire in me to become more open and honest about my personal pursuit of freedom. At the time, my thoughts of freedom were grounded in the South African principle of Ubuntu, meaning I am because you are. My mind was connecting the dots between my formative years and grand ideas of a greater sense of purpose for my career. My heart was embracing a simple sign I passed by twice a day in a neighbor's garden that read, "Take what you need, but please leave some for your neighbors." Early in my career, I shifted my focus as a storyteller from journalism to television and film. I will always be a journalist at heart because I believe in honesty and integrity as foundational principles of story. That means doing thorough research and also being aware of one's own biases. I became disillusioned with the world of journalism when, from Chicago to Johannesburg, I saw a lack of diversity in newsroom leadership. This meant a lack of diversity in the stories that were told, but more importantly, how they were told. Without diversification and vantage points, what I saw were newsrooms lacking empathy and awareness that sharing news information is about so much more than doing just that. Sharing news information is an opportunity to unify us against attacks on humanity and to share more of what makes us all worthy of a full life. I wanted to utilize radical imagination in my storytelling career and turn to TV and film, only to discover that in the entertainment world, where I thought more radical imagination was employed, there was the same lack of diverse representation in leadership, even when the content is meant to target a diverse audience. I speak to many young people today across industries, and they are shocked to find the working world so ill-prepared to meet them with care and respect for their humanity. And to that I say, do not be disheartened, because the opportunities to advance our world with your radical imagination are great. At 22, I answered the call to lead in creating more space for Black women and diverse talent in animation. I, as a writer, wanted to make an animated series about two millennials who were too woke to get real jobs, so they came up with all these crazy side hustles to get money for their art. These two young Black women spend their days fighting for women's rights and Black lives, fighting against the patriarchy and for the liberation of all people. They are who we all wish we were, people brave enough to fight for more in the world around them, unafraid to name their contradictions. Because the truth is, we were all taught to live to be accepted as a way to survive. These girls were not the exception. I was looking to hire Black women animators to make the project, but could not find one. Sounds a little crazy, right? Because it is. There are Black women animators all over the world. Today, our studio employs them. But the challenge in finding them and supporting them at scale is due to the lack of resources and opportunity presented to women and animators of color. In advancing equity in entertainment for Black women, women of color, and non-binary artists of color, we have supported thousands of artists across the world with finding community and seeing themselves represented on our projects with studio partners like Hulu, Netflix, A&E, Mattel, and Warner Media. We invest in talent that often has never been granted the chance to work on projects at this scale. Our studio model, Lift as We Climb, is inspired by a Toni Morrison quote. She said, "I tell my students, when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. What Ms. Morrison asks of us begs the question, when do I get power? There's so much happening in our world right now that feels out of our control. You may ask yourself, when will my voice have weight? Well, I was a production assistant when my team and I started Black Women Animate. Someone with seemingly no power, but I had the strength of my vision and my belief in myself and Black female artists. At that time, I was working at a television channel. That channel was considered progressive, but it had never had a recurring series that featured women of color. I pitched an idea that I believed in, and that changed. I helped get women of color on the TV channel. That same company had never had a corporate social responsibility department. I got so involved with creating space for inclusion in the office that I became a shoo-in for that team, creating a global strategy for what it looked like to tie impactful campaigns to our content and foster inclusive work environments for employees. Now, as an entrepreneur, I have scaled a studio from the only income resource being my production assistant salary to millions of dollars being distributed to Black women and diverse talent to work in the field of their dreams. This is a feat that is statistically near impossible, something I did not know when I embarked on this journey. Black female founders earn an average revenue of just $24,000 compared to about $143,000 among all women-owned businesses. Companies led by Black women typically receive less than 1% of all venture capital funding. Black Women Animate has yet to receive any venture capital funding. In animation, only 4 women of color worked as film or TV directors across 120 top animated films and 100 episodes of top animated TV series. None of them were Black. Even with the 2020 push for inclusion post the murder of George Floyd, animation sorely lags behind. I know many in the entertainment industry who have never met, let alone worked with, a Black female animator. As the industry itself divests from inclusion and studio heads narrow in on profits above all else, how can one hold her dream close? Well, allow me to share my dream with you. When I met my business partner, J. Love Calderon, a white woman and activist dedicated to uplifting Black people in all ways possible, I dreamt of helping her accomplish her life's work. When I met our head of studio, Fatima Abdullah, she was working at another company. I saw in her everything I ever wanted from a leader at our studio. So I dreamt of her in a position of power in the animation industry. When I met our creative director, Bookie, senior production manager, Taryn, art director, Ginger, designer, animator, Tynesha, and so on, I dreamt of these women and non-binary people of color being paid to work with the biggest brands there are, trusted for their creative genius, poised for critical acclaim. And very humble brag, one of the films our team contributed to this year is getting Oscar buzz. I am so proud of them. When we started, I had these dreams for the women and non-binary folks around me with no money in my pocket. But what I did have was what the 12-year-old me described as the tools and winning spirit to overcome any obstacle that I might face. When I started Black Women Animate, I believed it to be my purpose to build equity in this world for Black women. What do we set out to prove? that we could create an equity blueprint for the entertainment industry. We have done that. However, with time, I realized that my stated purpose was flawed because in considering who I was building equity for, I did not consider myself. Growing up, I was told that I was the one to change the world. As I inch closer to 30 years old and take a hard look yet again at how I live out what I believe, I realize how deep the only one fallacy lived in me. I committed myself to saving Black women, and in turn, I sacrificed myself for the whole. If you haven't realized by now, I'm standing here to invite you to consider how you might step forward as a vessel of change. So why would I share what this work has cost me? I share this because in my pursuit of advancing our studio to the next level, I realized that the ways of old will not work. I cannot overpromise on what I as an individual can offer women. The needs are too great. I instead must speak freely about what it takes and ask that each of us do our part to democratize who is able to live with their imagination at the center. In reframing my own relationship to the invitation to dream, I have redefined my purpose. My purpose is to exist fully outside of any boxes, to exist as my whole self and always be an open discovery of who that is. After 5 years of running the studio full time, our work is affirmed when teachers tell me that their students cry when learning that our company exists, that they now feel that their dreams to have careers in animation are possible. By existing, we show them that they are both capable and worthy. That is my dream, that the invitation to dream equals the reality that all people are granted the right to simply exist. So, at this time, what is it that I set out to prove? I set out to prove that collective liberation is the responsibility of not the one, but the many. I put my faith in the whole. I put my faith in humanity to see the most vulnerable parts of me and decide that I'm worthy of being seen as whole. The work of being human, no matter if you are an economist or a marketer, a poet or a priest, is to share the contents of our hearts with those around us. Some of us will do that through speeches or books. Others of us will do that sitting beside a stranger on the train or with a colleague that seems different from us in every way imaginable. In a world fraught with polarization, I double down on my belief that the gift you have that can change the world is belief in yourself and belief in those around you. And it cannot go unsaid, it must be expressed. So, I want you to look at the people beside you and say to each of them, I believe in you. Oh, how sweet. Yes, we believe in each other. Wonderful. Now, say internally to yourself, I believe in you. Or out loud if you want. One of my favorite activists and thinkers, Adrienne Marie Brown, penned a message of radical gratitude to those working for social and environmental justice and liberation, in which she says, I can never know the struggles you went through to get here, but I know you have swum upstream, and at times it has been lonely. My dream is made possible when we choose not to suffer in silence. I refuse to suffer in silence. And I refuse to ask you to forego the most honest version of yourself for the sake of the status quo. I am reminded that in this first act of my life, I made my dreams a reality by connecting the dots of invisibilization, finding my niche, and being a consistent agent of change. If you are in your first, second, or third act, I now more than ever invite you to express and share all that is good within you. The brightness of your light, whether shared with one person, 10 people, 100, or 1,000, will spark the change that this world deserves. The flames of a dream are fanned when we are brave enough to refuse to dismiss ourselves. If you don't know who you are today, find peace in knowing that upon arriving in this world, you knew exactly who you are. If you need to be reminded, pay attention to what comes to mind when you say to yourself, I believe in you. From as early as I can remember, I was invited to dream. I was given every opportunity to succeed. Those of us in this room should take stock of our privileges and the times in which we were recognized for our gifts. I cannot know the challenges of your swimming upstream, but I am sure, as it was at times in my own journey, that at times in yours, it has been lonely. I can, however, encourage you with my belief that each of us has the power to use our unique gifts, skills, and talents to further humanity. If your gifts extend beyond what people know you for, embrace that. Your purpose is greater than you know and can only be achieved when you aren't placing yourself in a box. When you are open to exploring what moves you. That takes time. And that means, often, we will have to reconsider our one-track minds. Earlier today, I asked some of the Gould Center Fellows to do a bit of soul searching. I asked them to write the epic journey of their souls. We agreed that this wasn't a typical conversation, and still they indulged me. Thank you, Gould Fellows. One student saw her soul as a drop of water in a great ocean, symbolizing her connection to the collective consciousness. Another student saw himself holding books as a professor, a dream that feels far-fetched to him, but we encouraged him otherwise. The opportunity to live an artful life with one's imagination at the center can be democratized when those of us in positions of privilege stop denying our connection with the fullness of our own humanity, our artistry. We must reconnect with our soul's work, so much so that we simply cannot breathe in a world that stifles this opportunity in children, near or far. When you yourself are allowed to experience the richness of communicating what is in your soul, you won't be able to tolerate a world that denies this gift to other human beings. You will find that honoring your own voice gives you all the power you need to honor someone else's and to share with your fellow woman the invitation to dream.
Thank you so much for your talk, Ms. Shaw. We'll now move into the Q&A portion of the evening. So if you have a question for Ms. Shaw, please come up to one of the mics on either side of the room. Line up, we'll be alternating between you. When you come up to ask your question, please introduce yourself, say your name, where you're from, what year you are, what you're studying, and please keep your questions short, about 1 to 2 sentences, and please refrain from follow-up questions. Thank you so much. Looking forward to hearing all of your questions.
Hi, thank you for your talk. My name's Nico. I'm a first-year student here at CMC, and I'm studying philosophy, politics, and econ. And my question is, as you were talking about those times when you're swimming upstream and you can feel a little lonely, I was wondering what methods do you have for just taking care of yourself and just kind of, I guess, soothing that loneliness that you might feel in those periods?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for asking that, Nico. So I believe in therapy, and I think everybody should have a therapist. If you're not actively in therapy, you should just have one, when things get tough that you can call. For me, it's therapy. For me right now, it's hot yoga, it's meditation. It really started in college for me with just shifting your thoughts. You all are hardworking, you all are driven, you all will accomplish all the things that you want to, and also your internal dialogue is so important. Showing like kindness and grace to yourself is so important. Recognizing that you don't have to achieve everything tomorrow is so important, so you can take a nap. So I believe in naps also. Just being kind to yourself, I think, is where it starts. And I, pre-therapy, did not recognize how important it was to share my challenges and stories just with friends or colleagues when it feels safe. And so I encourage that also, because I was telling the head table here that there's no such thing as an original thought or feeling. Everything that you've ever felt, somebody else has felt. So why not share, Why not let somebody else know what you're going through? And with that, a lot of pain tends to subside when we share.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Asia. I'm a first year, and my question is, in a world where the standard of success is set under a value of individualism, what can you tell people to remind them of the value of community, or the quote, as you say, lift as you climb?
Yes. Thanks, Asia, for your question. So the Surgeon General has told us that loneliness is now an epidemic, and that is very real. And so as you all think about, how you journey forward, in college, in your careers, also think about what it is that you're prioritizing and if community is an important value to you. Because, there was a time in my life where I was very, very driven and I couldn't take an hour and a half to have a dinner with a friend. I had to keep grinding. I couldn't, take a vacation. I had to keep grinding. And so I think it's really important, especially with how the world is today and loneliness being an epidemic. When you think about your own journey, think about who is journeying forward with you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacy. I'm a second year here at TMC, majoring in government. And I would first like to say that I think that you are an amazing speaker. I love the way that you are so well-spoken and attentive. And my question is kind of on the same thing of lifting while climbing. And I was wondering how you can balance creating your story while also being a vessel for others.
Thank you, Stacy. That is a wonderful question that I don't know if you could tell in my speech that I have been figuring out. Make time for yourself, and also just recognize that it is not all on you. So everybody in here is extremely capable, right? And when you're very capable, you can do the thing, so you do the thing, and you do the other thing, and then you take this extra class, and you do this, and you're just doing a lot. And so that doesn't stop when, you are off of CMC's campus. That continues on if you're not conscious of the fact that you don't have to do everything. So if you want to help others, you can do that, and you can also do that without 100% depleting yourself. It's just not possible to pour fully, wholly from an empty cup. And so setting boundaries with yourself around your time. I sleep 8 hours a night. It is great. I think just knowing that you're human and you can't do it all today, but you all will live long, beautiful lives, and you can take everything with stride. Don't think that you have to change the world tomorrow. I have gone through a lot of my life thinking that I needed to change the world tomorrow, and that's actually not the case. I don't have to do that. I can have a good time with my friends. I can spend time with my family, and I can spend time with all of you and learn from you, and the world goes on. So it's a both and just think about really how you're spending your time and how that's reflective of what you value.
Thank you.
Hey, Taylor. My name is Tiana, and I have a question around like dialogue and privilege. I was curious, in what modes do you take an intentional dialogue around your privilege and like just initiating conversations within self about your own privilege? I thought you spoke so well about that, and I'm curious.
Yeah, so talking to, like, how do I talk to myself about my own privilege? Yeah. I think just being honest, and also, paying attention to how you are positioned versus maybe, not versus, but in awareness of what that might look like for other people that you grew up with, or people that, are your peers now, or as you continue to journey in your career. All of you are stars, and when you're a star, you get certain opportunities that other people might not get, because if in our society, if you don't show that you can do it, that you're a star, like we're looking for stars. And so if you have that star power, as all of you do, it's really important to be aware of it and think about how you can share it. But you have to pay attention to what is happening around you. And so in my own life, I share opportunity. I don't want all of the attention. It puts more work on your plate. And also, I believe that everybody is a star. So if that's the case, then why not share? Why not, put someone else in a position where they can succeed? Why not tell somebody that you also believe in them? We are in this room, so we are privileged. And you don't have to feel guilt for having privilege. The question is, what do you do with it?
Thank you, Taylor.
Hi, my name is Bika. I'm a first year at TMC, and I'm considering studying econ and IR. And I was wondering, how do you actively promote inclusivity in the workplace as a CEO? As a CEO promoting inclusivity in the workplace, I accept people for who they are, because I want to be accepted for who I am. I don't want to just be put in the box of CEO. I'm also a poet. I am also a writer. I think I might want to write songs, in the next couple of months. Like, I am so much more than the one label. I am a wife. I am a sister. I think I want to be a bird watcher. So I accept myself, and in accepting myself, I accept others. And I think if we just lived in a world where that was the norm, and I hope we're going towards that, then this doesn't even have to be a conversation. I think that beyond increasing access in the world of animation, I'm really interested in creating companies that just have healthy work environments. Because for women, for folks of color, for folks across the gender spectrum, it can be hard to go into the corporate culture because it is a certain way, and change in that space moves so slow. And also, again, you all have wonderful, radical imaginations, and you can challenge those systems. And so the short of to answer your question, the short version of that is accepting people for who they are. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a junior at CMC. I had a question specifically about the medium of animation. In terms of it, as using it as a means of representation, I see the value in it in terms of young children watching, young people of color watching animated television shows on Sundays and seeing themselves in those characters. I'm wondering if you see an overlap or you see an equal importance in sort of adult animation and representation in that realm, and why animation entirely as the medium?
Yes, very cool question. Definitely important on the children's media front. I mean, extremely important. When it comes to adult animation, so we're all adults. I think we have a 7-year-old here, but like we're all mostly adults. And our inner children it's still there, lives within us. And so when I watch an animated film and I feel represented, it means something to me. The show that I mentioned that led to starting Black Women Animate, I still want to make that show. I mean, we made a company, but I still want to make that show. And seeing that in real time, like that will mean something to me. Tamoy and I were just talking about how there are more Black characters being incorporated in anime, which is great. So I think it's just as important in adult animation because your inner child is still there, and I think seeing yourself represented in any way, it warms the soul and it means something. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Great question.
Hi, my name's Elijah. I'm a sophomore at CMC studying cognitive science. And my question for you, the initial one was similar to Peter's about like what you see in animation. But I guess I have another question about how do you, like as you take on a mission that kind of goes against the ways of the world, how do you stay motivated throughout that journey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. You all motivate me 100%. And I think on the day-to-day, my team really motivates me. I believe deeply in my team. Nothing would be possible without them and their work, because they're actually doing the award-winning stuff. I'm just getting the business and talking about it. So I think meeting artists and hearing their dreams keeps me fueled. Because it's not easy. It's not easy to go against the grain. I am really grounded in having, like I said, I've always been told that I can succeed, and that has not changed in my life. So I'm really privileged in the sense that I have a supportive family and friends that when the going gets tough, people are there for me. And so it just fuels me to be there for the artists who, may not have the same contacts or relationships that I have that allow for me to have my own animation studio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Taylor. Hi, Icy. Thank you for your talk and the previous workshop with our Gold Fellows. So I wonder, how do you feel like self-importance of each individual in relation to egoism? In relation to egoism? Yes.
Oh, the ego. That's like a whole other talk. I love it. So self-importance in relation to ego. Okay, let me try to tell y'all what my therapist says. Because she says the ego is not bad. It's a thing that we have that tells us things about ourselves. She says it in a much more sciencey way than I can. And so what I look to do when it comes to ideas of like self-importance, if that's your question, and the ego, is to always check myself. What is my why for doing everything? I think, again, we live in a world that is really promoting individualism, and you as the star and your journey and how much money you make and how that can affect and support your little bubble. That's the world that we live in. And so as I think about self-importance and my own ego, I'm just always thinking about like how I can shed those layers and make sure that I live well without feeling like or believing that it's the Taylor show, because it's not the Taylor show. we're all at the CMC, like it's our show together, and everybody is a star in their own way. So I hope that answers your question. I think in the writing that I'm doing now, that is how I like to shine, and that is really all about me being vulnerable and sharing more of who I am as a human, which I hope also contributes to making you all feel seen. So I hope that answers your question. I feel like it could also be a whole other talk.
Hi, Taylor. Thanks for being here. We met earlier. I'm Amy Kine, faculty here. I loved what you said about imagination, and so talking about the power of imagination and the need for imagination is like singing my song. So at the risk of making you do my research for me, I really wanted to hear from you about, so you talked a lot about needing the space for imagination and having the privilege, but let's suppose you're in a position where you're able to imagine and you're just stuck, right? So what can we do to cultivate our imagination or to cultivate one another's imagination? Like, do you have any advice or tricks or thoughts about that?
Yeah, getting unstuck. I thought about that being the workshop today, so maybe next time. I think being open to, again, like as an artist or creative or a thinker, philosopher, a lot of philosophers in the room, not putting yourself, again, like in a box. So walking outside and seeing where you can be inspired. Maybe try art forms that you haven't before. We were talking about Rick Rubin's Creative Act, and he talks about he might have, say, and this is not exactly his words, but he may have like a country artist listen to a hip hop song as influence for what they're gonna do, or say sing this in the style of Billy Joel or Billie Holiday. Like, so think about trying new ways of engaging with, or try to engage with new material, I would say. So I like to watch trees. That inspires me. Or in my neighborhood, there's a Zen weaving class. I totally want to do that. I feel like some poems will come out of that. Yoga, doing hot yoga for me, there's so much that comes up. So I think being open to, like, go to plays, like being open to other forms of art. And maybe if you're, you know, a philosopher, a thinker, like you are, and like some of the students in the room, I think maybe talking with people who think differently or who have a different vantage point really helps me get unstuck. But yeah, sitting in silence, also, it can be, that can be a tough one, but you know, something comes up. I listen to a lot of delta waves and beta waves, and that also, I feel like you all know me so well now. So yeah, I listen to a lot of that, and that sometimes sparks interesting thoughts and conversation.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm back.
Hey, Haja.
So I was just thinking a bit about your speech, and I'm glad that you've considered that your privilege has come from like a place where you have always been told of your worth, and where you grew up in a space where you were able to have a full autonomy and having imagination and seeing yourself. But when I think of places like Chicago, right, where a lot of creative spirits, a lot of creative youth grow up in communities and households where they aren't given that full autonomy, I've wondered if you ever considered that, and maybe, not really a solution, right, but like, just how do you feel about that in general, and maybe what would you tell a child that doesn't have that type of environment?
Yeah, Asia's also from Chicago. Oh, Tiana's also from Chicago. Yeah, Chicago's right in the front. Yeah, that's a great question. I meet a lot of people who were not told that they could be artists, who were not told that actually you can have six-figure careers in the world of animation and in gaming. Like, people just don't know that. People of color really don't know that. Our parents don't. And so what I would say to a child is what I say to really everybody is you can do anything that you want. My husband is a bit more of a skeptic, so I think if we have kids one day, they'll get like you can do whatever you want and also like do your homework. So yeah, a little bit of a balance. But yeah, I would say that you have your own unique voice, and yes, there may be a billion artists on the planet, and also there is truly only one you. Yes, I believe that there is a cloud of creativity and we all have access to it. And I believe that we have running themes as human beings that we may be attracted to and that we may explore. And also, like, I want to buy art from this one particular artist because I just love the way that they make the thing. And so, yeah, any artist, I really try to say, I like the way that you do this in particular. So people know that there's specificity around, like, this is what I like about your vantage point. So, yeah, just telling people that they can really goes a long way, even if they don't believe it in the moment. It does hopefully create some type of something that stirs in them that hopefully helps them start to believe it. But I say it a lot when I meet people.
Hi, Taylor. Thank you so much for coming out today. It was really an amazing talk. And I'm wondering, being like the CEO of your own company is huge. And I feel like you need to have a huge voice to do that. I've always been on, like, had the little voice and like not really stepping out and kind of like exploring my different options, you know, that I have out. Like, I don't know, I was on one career path. Now I'm doing something totally different that I love, and it took me a while to kind of find that and have the confidence to kind of enter that space. So have you always been like this, or kind of what was your process of gaining your voice, if that makes sense?
So we talked about souls. All the Gold Fellows are like, yeah, we talked about it. We talked about souls, and mine in particular, I do think came into this world ready to say something. And also, the path is not linear. So I think I shared with you all, I went to journalism school. By the time I was out of journalism school, I decided I didn't want to be a journalist, but like, how do you tell your parents that, you know, hey, the degree that I just got, not trying to use it. And so the path is not linear, and I think I started to really truly find my voice, because like I said, from 12, like I spoke with a lot of conviction, but I think I really started to find my voice when I started to ask myself the questions of who am I, what is it that I want to contribute, what are my unique skills, gifts, and talents that make sense for me to pursue, you know, X is me as entrepreneur, X type of career and company. And the creation of Black Women Animate was kind of a good mix of that. I really care about women. I really care about folks of color being able to do whatever it is that they dream of. I really care about work environments being healthier. I really care about storytelling. I really think animation is an amazing medium to do that. And so when I started to ask myself those questions about who I was, things started to make sense. And like I said to some of y'all, I'm pushing 30. And when you're pushing 30, that starts to change again. And that's okay. I think it's really interesting that we ask like 18 and 19-year-olds to like decide what you're gonna do with your life. And that it can change, and that is okay. And you might return to something that you didn't even know. I mean, people have 3 and 4 careers in a lifetime. So just be open. And like I was saying, don't put yourself in a box.
Thank you.
Please join me in once again thanking Ms. Taylor Shaw.